MGM, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. Pretty interesting stuff happening here in the market as we try to live in a post-halving world. And a lot of people were kind of hoping that this was going to be a massive tipping point, right? Where the entire market gets aware of what runes are. We're going to have billion-dollar shit coins. This thing is going to kill it. But of course, as we kind of walk through, we realized the reality was far from that. What we ended up seeing is we ended up feeling the pain of the lack of infrastructure, tooling, awareness, and navigation in this market. And because of that, it's kind of led to runes being a little bit of a standstill. A lot of the actual activity has been more on pre-runes because that is essentially a lot easier for people to understand, right? If you weren't prepping and understood what Luminex was, if you didn't understand how mints worked, it's been a little bit painful. I'm sure a lot of you might have ran into the problem where you're trying to get a mint in for a token for a rune at the last minute, and of course the block fills up, you lose all of your fees and or gas. It is painful, right? Happened to me a few times as well, and it just shows you like, oh fuck, this is probably not the experience we want this market to be. But the good news is that we know it's going to get better. When we say we know it's going to get better, this is how every crypto infrastructure has always layered up. What you see is that you create liquidity opportunities, pain points are identified, capital and team members organized to solve those pain points, and we keep pushing forward. And that's exactly what you're going to see over essentially the next 3 to 6 months. I think what was probably most surprising of the halving, as we were discussing earlier today, was just how unprepared everything was. And when I say everything, like to be honest, I think Luminex might have been the only prepared organization, and maybe Jenny, with their data and also the ability to mint. Outside of that, kind of everything was pretty much hot trash, right? There was really little understanding of tools and features. No one really understood where charting data would be. It kind of led to this pretty large gap here as well, because what you're realizing again in this market is that most people don't really understand what to do now because there wasn't a clear shelling point. I think that was probably the most damning thing about this first launch. No one knew where to put the first money in, right? Rune 1 was kind of weird with Fehu, and no one really understood, or Fehu, I don't even know how you pronounce it, was kind of weird because, again, no one even knew who they were. No one understood their 99% pre-mine with 1% left, where you can mine one Fehu at a time, which is crazy, right? And then we saw a lot of pre-mines, and then the ones that were pre-mine heavily, right, were still kind of unknowns. Like we just have Satoshi Nakamoto. Like that's as interesting as we got as a meme coin. We just called it Satoshi Nakamoto. Pretty disappointing. And the other one is meme economics, which I guess is cool. I don't know. There's a class on meme economics here. Awesome. So this is kind of what we ended up running into as a general problem in this market, is that it felt like a dud, right? We didn't see a clear winner or a clear growth leader here at this point, and that's kind of led to a lot of people thinking, "Huh, is runes even a thing?" And this is where I hope that you guys aren't that people right now. I hope you counter that narrative and let everyone think it went really bad. But what this actually means is that there's even going to be more opportunity for all of us. And what I mean by that is that it means that this probably removed 30 to 40% of people who were planning to enter the market in this window, right? I really do believe that. I think a lot of people are now going to FUD it. They're going to go back to Solana. They're going to go back to Blast. Makes tons of sense, and I don't blame them, right? The infrastructure is better on those places if you want to do shitcoin stuff, right? But the infrastructure will catch up on Bitcoin. Again, in most of these cases, it's just connecting the right APIs to the right front ends to be able to get a lot of these things to be resolved. And in other cases, it's not that hard to realize that there are already venture-backed companies that are coming in that are going to have infrastructure for this, right? There's LFG and Mystic, who's trying to build the Uniswap for runes and building that runes dex. Like, if that's going to truly be the case, we should be able to see a lot of tooling relatively soon. right? Separately from that, right, we're seeing a lot of these L2 infrastructures coming out of the woodwork. So this should be pretty exciting, but it means it's going to be slower. And slow usually doesn't compute well to degens, right? Degens are like, I want the hottest thing right now. Where's it going to go? And I think you're going to see a lot of people turned off from runes at the moment right now, which should mean that it's more opportunity for us who are still believers, right? And if you're still believers here, your biggest and most bullish opportunity right now is being able to navigate essentially what I would say are the next 10 days, is what I think we have. The next 10 days, we're going to see three major waves of stuff happen. One is, and that's going to be probably one of the largest, is pre-runes will convert to runes. We've already seen Arsic take the lead here. We now know Runestone's taken a snapshot yesterday and is planning to release this week. I wouldn't be surprised it's today and or tomorrow. That should be happening here relatively soon, or let's say tomorrow and or Wednesday. Prometheans has noted that they plan to do an airdrop and either tell us more this week or next week. There's going to be a lot more airdrop campaigns, and that's where a lot of the rune capital is gone, right? If you were making the alpha move in the last 60 days, the alpha was always invest into pre-runes. You didn't have to deal with gas wars. You didn't really have to deal with anything. You would just get into the snapshot, and now you're waiting for those airdrops. And Arsic has been essentially the first winner, right? There's actually two first winners right now from a yield and return perspective. Arsic, massive. Arsic's already at a 300 million valuation as of a few hours ago, which is really bullish already considering how early this infrastructure is. They have a lot of unique holders, and then the other really cool thing is that they have Season 2 going. So Arsic's still holding secondary value post-snapshot or post-airdrop because they have not only the number 8 rune, which of course is very valuable, but they have the number 21 rune, which is Arsic Season 2. So with that, they're using that to their leverage. What will be really interesting is, can Runestone break this, right? If you looked at the valuations, and we talked about this earlier, but just as a quick reminder, if Runestone was to have the same lift as Arsic did in regard to its rune valuation to what its post-rune, right, of post-deployment valuation is, Runestone should technically be worth close to around excuse me, I knew it was coming. I was feeling the sneeze. Runestone should come around a $2 billion valuation on its token. Mind you, I'm not saying that's going to be the case. I'm not. I want you to understand that this is just a comparable to understand, and the truth is we only have one data source, right? We only have Arsic, and Arsic was a much smaller market cap, right? So in this case, right, the question now begs, where is Runestone going to land? Is it going to land around 1 billion, right? Is it going to land around 1.5, or is it going to land around 2? And in some cases, people think it might even be less than that, which could be the case, right? There are some OTC markets right now that have very little volume that are noting that it's currently around like half a billion valuation, 500 million. But I believe it's much higher. And the reason for that, especially because it's the fact when you understand that that's what their valuation was pre-snapshot. Why wouldn't that hold as well post? The question now begs is it a 2x multiple on that 500 million or 450 million, or is it a 4x multiple like Arsic got roughly with their valuation when they went first? And remember, Arsic might just have the value because they are first, but the other thing is, right, they're offering liquidity on this trades in Unisat. But as we look through everything, it's still pretty shitty, right? If we go look at this, right, we have runes now unlocked on Magic Eden. This is kind of the big news that came out in the last 12 hours. I'll be very honest, the UI still massively sucks. First off, I cannot believe this is the flow. I have to click runes, and then they want me to select a rune. This is the landing page they're on. Like, no one wants to start like this. I want to be able to go understand what the fuck are all these things, not just kind of understand what's leading on volume here, and I can't really sort through anything. It just shows you how behind the infrastructure is. So in this case, let's go to Arsic. Well, actually, Arsic's numbers have actually dropped a little bit here on the sales, right? Here, let's remove pending here, which is annoying. So again, this is the UI for Magic Eden, if you're able to see my screen. Honestly, this is hot trash. Right? This is a multi-billion-dollar startup offering the ability to buy and sell runes, and Is this any better than Unisat? Like, I don't really know if it is. It is really ugly UI. I don't really understand what I'm trying to look at here. I guess I could sweep. We're still dealing to the problem where you have to, have these large sales here potentially up front that could maybe be blocking. Right now, it doesn't look too bad, right? I mean, most of these are, I guess, a 500,000 chunk is not too bad at roughly 0.0975 here. But again, this is just showcasing you the overall problem with liquidity here is that this is the world's worst experience to buy or sell, right? It really is across the board. And don't get me wrong, Unisat's not that much better. I prefer Unisat somehow, which is a very hard thing to say out loud. I somehow prefer Unisat over Magic Eden, right? Which is kind of nuts. But this is also the thing that's holding us back right now is that most people are not breaking down their runes into smaller chunks. So they're forcing people to buy, and this actually puts downward pressure on the floor, right? Because people don't understand this. Like, okay, in order to buy these runes, although it's at the best SAT price, I can't partially fill this up. I have to buy the whole thing at the moment right now, which means that in order to clear this floor and move it up, someone needs to come in with a $23,000 buy. That is the requirement in order to clear the thing on the floor. How fucked of a buy is that? Quite high, to say the least. So this is the crazy thing, is look how bad this infrastructure is. But there are still people who want to pile millions, if not billions of dollars into this asset class. This is bullish. This is bullish because we could see all the leaks, right? We could see all the problems in the UI UX. This stuff will be resolved over the next 30 to 60 days, right? It is going to move fast and more liquidity is going to pull in. So the biggest feedback here, and this is kind of the roundup from earlier day, and then we'll kind of shift here, is recognizing like runes still have a lot of potential from here. If you still believe in the shitcoin meta and you believe in the idea that more of this buy pressure will come to Bitcoin as infrastructure and tools get better, of course, right, that liquidity will only become easier to capture into the rune-based asset class. And that's what we're waiting on. And that's really where we could see price action to occur. So in a lot of ways, what's interesting here is that I think the market's also going to get a lot more active as you see Runestone come out or Dog Token here. We'll see how that works, but I actually think you're going to see a little bit more downward pressure to start, right? And you're seeing this with Arsic. Arsic was around like 23, 24 sats earlier today. You could have probably cleared that out. And you can quickly see it gets undercut relatively fast, mainly because this market doesn't have great tooling for buy and sell pressure here. And because of that, it makes it so hard to fill, right? We're literally trying to find right buy size, right sell size, and waiting for that. So right now, most buyers are waiting on the sideline. Why would you want to buy into this kind of element here when it just doesn't feel as efficient? But this is what I would try to tell you to take the leap on if you have the liquidity, whatever your liquidity is try to understand how you get a part of some of these shelling points that I think are going to be very clear when we see major centralized exchanges such as Gate already listing 3 different runes, including Wenko Manko, which is the other crazy winner, right? Just an insane winner. It's not a huge amount of supply. It's not a huge amount of holders, but holy shit, is this thing trading the best? I'll walk you through those numbers here really quickly. But of course, here's the most bullish thing we have. We have Binance. Binance is coming, right? Binance is going to be coming into this market, and we know what buy pressure Binance brings on its own. If we could get onto the front page of Binance here with a handful of these tokens, it will be a massive catalyst for runes. How can you not be bullish that runes are at least get a 2x, 3x, 5x here as a market cap generally is definitely one of the clearest knowns we have, right? The question is, does it have a 20x or a 100x in it? That's what's kind of the unknown. But we know at least that 3 to 5x is coming generally for this market as we get more buyers getting more aware to come through this. Do you know how insanely shitty it is to buy runes right now? If you don't know how to specifically split UTXOs, if you don't understand how blocks work, if you don't understand, anything about the wallets that you're interacting with, it's literally one of the most painful things to get through. It really is. It's not intuitive and it's not going to bring most people in. But again, if we get through this to the right level and people are just buying with their Binance wallets, their OKX wallets, whatever it may be, and that UI is the exact same way they're doing all their other shit coins, right? Then all you're telling them is, hey, you have exposure to Solana shit coins and ETH shit coins or base shit coins, whatever the fuck it is. Why don't you want Bitcoin? Of course they'll want Bitcoin. It's the easiest upsell for them. Hey, do you know the only crypto chain that is the longest chain that has the highest TVL? Well, these guys somehow created even greater shitcoins here. Aren't you ready for this? And this is where you could then start having conviction of where you want to potentially start aggregating. So again, in my opinion, my conviction now is around the fact that I want to go after sub 10 runes, sub 9 runes, right? Right, 1 through 9. That's really where it is. I am personally very over indexed on Runestone and Arsic. Those are the two that I've heavily bet on. I think there's value in Prometheans. If you're already able to get Satoshi Nakamoto and meme economics, I would just hold those, right? At this point, you're doing a good job on that front. There is the opportunity to get Runedoor and Prometheans still have their snapshots coming up, it looks like. Prometheans actually dipped a little. I saw it around like 0.059, maybe 0.06. Let's quickly go check real quick. Okay, great. I don't want to check out your shitty runes platform, Magic Eden. Yeah, so Prometheans around 0.059 right now. So it is let me just put this here. God, and then hide pending, please. So yeah, we're looking at it just dipped under 0.06. Again, I'm not saying it's massively cheaper than it was, but we were looking at it at, in our earlier call around 0.63, 0.64. So again, this might be an opportunity if you're looking. Runedoor still holding around half that price, around 0.029. I think that's generally right. Prometheans having number 2 shitcoin, Runedoor is having number 9 shitcoin. It does make sense that Prometheans would trade at 2x higher value. Again, you could still get exposure to Rune Pups here. They're still going to be doing this merge. Pups have taken a pretty large hit on their market cap as well recently too, so it'll be interesting. Rune Milio, I fucking still don't even understand this, so this is not even for me to talk about. I never understood the Milady and Emilio, the ecosystems there as well. So this one I'm way out of my depth on, so I'll leave it to you guys here as well. We do say BitBoy 1 Genesis kind of push up a little bit in price. It was a higher mint price already here as well. When we look at the pre-rune, again, a lot of these are still tanking. What you're seeing is most of the buy pressures got into the top 5, right? That's pretty much it. Again, we're seeing decent market caps here, but again, huge drop-offs behind that. Tiny Vikings getting smashed right now, which I think, like, if this was a 1-to-1 play, this would be worth grabbing. But what people are doing, and I don't blame them, is that you could sell your Tiny Viking, right? And you've already etched all of the runes, so you're good. And Arsic showed that. That was actually kind of the alpha in a weird way. You could have sold your Arsic like a day before airdrop at its full price, and you would have gotten 95% of the value. You would have lost out on season 2. But in this case, I'm not sure if you're going to actually lose out on anything on Tiny Vikings beyond this, right? So this is kind of why it's a little challenge here. And then, yeah, exactly. Tiny Vikings, only 30% of tokens allocated to pre-rune. Again, this is the same problem that Ape Odyssey ran into from the Rune Pad guys. I can't believe both of them kind of straight up shot themselves in the foot, right? What they effectively did was one offered 1%, which is a hilarious number to say out loud to rune holders over 4 snapshots. Super dumb, right? But then again, what I'm much more interested now is like with Tiny Vikings, if only 30% are going to pre-rune, if they're smart, it should be who's holding the Tiny Vikings asset become a multiplier, right? That's how this should have always worked. If these guys were actually building good design, it's yes, there's active mining, but at snapshot, you must have the tiny Vikings for a multiplier on the pre-runes that you've mined, right? And if you could get that, then this is where you could actually keep a little bit more buying pressure. But right now, if you're a user looking at tiny Vikings, and like for me, I own a bag of tiny Vikings here. I don't see the reason I would be buying these right now because most of the mining's been done. Unless I massively believe there's going to be a multiplier on this, I know why all these people are getting out. They're all thinking the same thing. Well, let me get liquidity. I already got 80% of my mining done on these tiny Vikings. Let me kick this out. And the crazy thing is there's massive whales. It's actually, this is the same whale, this rot guy. This guy, whoever this whale is, this guy is a beast. He's got a shit ton of node monkeys, a shit ton of R6, and he also had a shit ton of runestones. He was the one who actually had it a wall at 0.35. This guy created a 0.035. He's created another wall on Tiny Viking, looks like at 0.0888 and 0.0063. Oh, we actually gave him a Ronin, so he was lucky. He was on one of those fronts to get a Ronin, which is pretty cool. Good to see it in one of these whales wallets here. What Ronin did he get? Let's see this little cute Ronin. Aww. Little Ronin. Congrats. He's part of the green, the bronze. I think the Jade clan is what that is. Oh, dog. Yeah. So as you're going to see, a lot of these projects are still struggling to kind of build the relationship they need to. And that's going to be kind of the other problems that you're going to see a lot of these things dip in price. For me, I don't think there's a reason for me to sell yet because I'm not desperate on liquidity on this front. So I'm trying to take a little bit of time here, right, on seeing which are worth holding through because I think there's still going to be a lot more market caps that will be bigger. Ape Odyssey is a little bit brutal. I bought in a few more around this price point. I don't recommend it. I just bought it in to average out my earlier buys that were around 0.026. So I just grabbed a couple to kind of make my average entry around like 0.18, right? Is kind of what this ended up being. So that's kind of why I grabbed a couple here around this price point. I don't massively recommend it because their comms are really awful on this front. So it kind of becomes an interesting element here. RuneX looks like they've already done their airdrop, hence why you're seeing a bunch, or at least their snapshot, a bunch of low prices here now. It's just gone into the tanker here. But again, this is kind of what these guys need to think about, is that if they're only going after the shitcoin, it makes sense to transfer all of the value from the ordinal into the shitcoin. And that might be what some of these guys are doing. But if that's the case, right, what they should be figuring out and what they should be doing, which would be bullish, is allow people to send the redeemed rune to Satoshi's wallet and burn them and get another bonus of points. What you should do is just start killing and eating into your supply. Get rid of it, right? Push this stuff out, and then you don't have to worry about these sinking floors as people now deal with kind of, gas prices as well. But I think that's kind of what we're seeing in this market is that no one really knows what's happening in the mid caps because the top large caps haven't really performed yet. Well, we haven't really seen their full performance outside of RSEC. So I think Runestone and Prometheans are really going to give us a lot of insight, hopefully this week, assuming Prometheans goes out. And same thing, I'm very curious to see how Rune Doors is going to play out here as well. So this is kind of why I'm a little bit confused on just the strategies these teams are taking. But again, this is kind of the reality we're with, right? We just got to see how all of this plays out. But the bullish thing is more centralized exchanges are going to list. Binance is going to list runes at some point. How fast is it going to be? I'm not sure. It's also bullish here as well when these guys are constantly thinking through, right? The almost the meme-ness, which is also amazing. I'll give them a lot of credit. For a company like this, they're really plugged in, Again, just sharing a little bit more. Dog tokens here, kind of elements here. We got the Bitcoin logo here with 1,200 retweets here as well. And then also when we go to Leonidas, you can see he's tweeted about it as well too, which is, I think, pretty important. Yeah, Silent Mode's asking, why is mempool so congested right now? Let's go take a look. Let's go to Ordpool. What's going on? It looks like wow, 200. Yeah, it is actually really high. All right, let's see what these guys are doing in Ordpool here at the moment right now. So there's a few BRC20 transfers. There's some pups transfers, a DMT mint. All right, this that fee is for what? What's going on? Okay, these look like snipes. Ooh, this guy's sending a lot of BTC, so he's just paying a good fee for it. Interesting. Oh, well, that block just confirmed, which was nice. Let's go check out Luminex real quick and see what's happening with their latest mints. So this is also a good way that I check. I usually sort by mints and I sort by block, right? So I try to see. So right now it looks like meme pool space. It's getting tons of these here at the moment right now. This is one where I believe this was tweeted out earlier. It's about to end on block in 217 blocks. So this is getting majority of the mints right now. So this looks like why gas is spiking. Meme pool, I forget who just tweeted about it. Oh, this is from Billy Resty. It was Billy Resty did this. Yeah. Apoa just noted it. Shout out Apoa. Good job about that front and towards. Billy Resty, he's the guy who did bit what's that generative 10,000 art piece? Bit something. God, I should remember these. Bit. I'm sure someone already noted. Bit block. Thank you, Torts. Thank you guys. Lord knows. I'm trying to remember all these things here in my head, and it's Bit Blocks by Billy Resty. So he did this large 6500 collection, which I think is still pretty cool. I thought he did a fantastic job on this. He's also done some other cool art pieces too, including some partnerships with Seize Control, and then let me see if I could see Resty if there's any other ones that come up. Yeah, he has Cipher Glyphs, Ordinal Shards, Meta Blocks, and Obsidian. So he's done a few different things, which is pretty cool. So he's kind of pushed this his way, and he's kind of making a lot of cool opportunities coming out. So it looks like this is what he's pushing out right now. So might be worth the mint here on Luminex if you want to get in. As you can see, a lot of degen mints happening here at the moment right now. 7,700 pending, kind of nuts. So that's kind of looks like one of the next kind of like little quick metas here at the moment right now. As you can see, we're almost up to 10,000 here. We're almost at 10,000 coins created, which I think will like lead to a little bit more interesting value here too. So if you're interested in like etching a coin, you probably want to do it in the next couple of days as we start getting under like the sub 2K. But this is probably the best way where you can see where volume is going. So yeah, it's also meme pool, and then yeah, of course, Feihu's still getting a decent amount of mints here. You can also look at the last 3 blocks. It's all meme pool space. They're really grabbing pretty much all of that buy pressure here at the moment right now, which is pretty interesting. You're looking at meme pool space has already done 35,000 mints overall. In the last 59,000 mints overall already. So this might end up having a really large holder. Let's actually look into meme pool space really quickly. How many unique holders do they have at the moment? 3,400 on 59,000 mints. Holy cow. So this means that on average, the user is getting almost 18 mints per person is kind of what the average is on this front. Kind of nuts. But the cool thing is it's 0 pre-mine, which is nice. It makes it a really fair thing here, and that's been grabbing most attention here. So you could be grabbing these in 20,000 chunks, but you can see some guys have been betting really big on this, right? They're getting 10 million plus chunks, a 20 million plus chunk. Pretty crazy. But fair mines are really what's driving like no pre-mine fair mints is really what I think is driving a lot of the more compelling entry points. And then you just need, some kind of interesting upside that is going to like either drive, attention to what you're doing or, hopefully something that will lead to even a bigger opportunity. I think you're going to see a lot of these types of mints, but that definitely looks like you're going to see a bunch of opportunities here as well. Oh, maybe. I hope cooks, but I'm not sure. I'm very curious here as well on whether or not Lucid will get out there right. I'm actually just curious what Ordinal assets will do. Let's quickly just check on what's happening on just regular. Okay, I get it. You want to keep showing me. Is there anything getting interesting volume here in the last like 6 hours that's not a major rune? I mean, we saw some Bitcoin puppets got back up to point 0.4. Good to see that. Looks like node monkeys are almost back to point 0.4. Yeah, we saw mutant hounds come out. They were initially at 0.01. They've kind of dropped half in price. Again, I'm not surprised. I think they went out into a really tough time in the market, and there are not as many Ordinal OGs. Lior has a lot of whale push though, so I'm curious. I think these kind of maybe, I don't want to say these came out a little bit less than interesting, but considering how much you paid and how low res the pixel art here, I'm just not sure if it's as bullish here to kind of keep here as well. So that's kind of where I'm a little bit at this point on whether or not they'll be able to keep that buy pressure. But it's also the same thing. It's like I don't know if I'm really buying any Ordinal asset that's not tied to runes at this point. I think the dumbest thing I've done was retordinals is I think the dumbest thing I've done in the last few days. And that was just because I was up late with this community and talking about it. I want to be very clear. I do not recommend this, but it's had weirdly decent buy pressure with a few decent like whale buys as well too, right? Like here's a 0.014 buy. And here is, let's see if there's any more. Most of them are around 0.002. So again, this one's like still really cheap. I just thought they hit a lot of the cultural elements right, and I was actually just impressed with the volume. So I did grab a few. I expected to go to zero. I want to be very clear. 0.0051 went here. So there's a few rares kind of happening here and there, but it's primarily a floor kind of play at the moment right now. Definitely worth keeping an eye out on it because again, it's cool to see volume like this happening for this is a 4200 collection at the moment right now. Pretty good right now for a free mint as well. And that's kind of a nice little thing here to see where this will go. Yeah, I'm curious to see where this goes. Inc. kind of made an announcement that they brought a strategic investment in, but the strategic investment didn't really move a huge needle for them. Let's quickly check out where Inc. is at the moment. Yeah, they're back down to 0.014. Weird instance sells at the same price as floor, but I guess people want you to pay the gas at this point. So, they're kind of still here. They're still at that kind of same listed percentage. It's always kind of been between 10 to 15%, right? They're around 12% here. It was kind of trending down, but again, this is just the challenge here in this market. I think, the real challenge for Inc., it's a 10K, right? Like, and that's kind of what always makes it hard to sustain is just like 10K buying pressure in this market window is going to be difficult. And it's crazy. They announced a $10 million fundraise. It's not like a traditional fundraise. It looks like it's like 2 million of operating capital and then like $8 million of services based off the investor Metababe. I don't know who he is. I don't know much. It's not like a traditional round, but it's a good round. It's capital coming in, but it really doesn't do anything into the floor of these assets. And that's okay. I mean, Inc.'s trying to play a long-term game, and I hope they hit it out of the park on that front. But it's just showing you how tough this market. It's just showing you that even with these types of catalysts here, right? Everyone is straight up. It is waiting. It's just runes in general, let alone rune stones. I don't think ordinals are going to be interesting for the next 2 to 3 weeks unless they're tied to runes, right? And yeah, mutant hounds will probably be tied to runes. But I think it's probably too late. I think mutant hounds kind of missed their window. If they were doing this, they needed to be in the conversation like 5 days ago, right? And I agree. I think I talked to Pura, right? It's like I don't think it is the culture. It does feel a little too forced, and I think to be very honest, who ate their lunch? It's Prometheans. Prometheans ran a better play from an ETH-based community in order to get it. So it does feel Mutant Hounds is now on the outside, and I don't think the art is that compelling on Mutant Hounds, right? So I don't know about you guys. I'm curious actually to get your guys' take, but when I see Mutant Hounds, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I like some low poly stuff. This isn't awful, but it's not something that I'm like massively trying to aggregate, right? Yeah, I am kind of in the same way with you, Bounty Hunter. I feel it's more low res than they needed to go. Like, this is a pretty premium project. It could have been a little bit more clear what these assets were. It's cool because like the only reason I like this is that if they put this into a Duke Nukem game, right? This is the kind of level of art of Duke Nukem from way back in the day, the original Duke Nukem. That's what it reminds me of. And I don't know if I actually would want that as like I don't know if I really want this as my PFP though, but it's interesting. I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's top, right? And that's kind of it. And I agree, Octopure. I was surprised they didn't use any recursion or innovative compression to make them good. You could have easily compressed high-end files and went a little bit higher than their pixel count, right? I'm looking at what this is probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So it's not going to be a 40 by 40 pixel count here. So I'm curious to see what's going to go on, right? And I am surprised. I think the one thing they did do, which I thought was good, is that they have used vintage sats as kind of a rarity structure for their sat attributes, which is kind of cool. Like for example, right? They've used pretty much everything. But what was weird is that they use uncommons, which are it looks like so these are like the higher res ones here, and this is kind of the other collection. I mean the other like I guess there's like 3 collections within this or something. I'm not exactly sure all these details. I mean these are all cool, I guess. But again, my biggest worry and concern here, these all look the same. Are these pre-revealed or I don't know? These are uncommons, and then they use what do they use black uncommons for, which I thought was interesting. Black uncommons are also rares. It was interesting the way he talked about it. He felt like black uncommons were a super rare thing when they're not as rare, but pretty cool. So I give him credit. Some of these look cooler. These black uncommon ones look a little bit better because they're not as generative. These look like the one of ones, right? The black uncommons and the uncommons look like the one of ones. So these look much stronger. But yeah, I agree. I would choose quite a few different things over Mutant Hound as well. So I think they're gonna struggle here to be able to get that. Maybe they get their rune play, but again, if they don't have a low inscription rune, are you really gonna be betting on them over, I don't know, say I don't know what you could get at this price point. I guess similar price points now are what? What are they trading at? This is what yeah, around the same price point as like Tiny Vikings, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe you buy this because you're betting because the yield's starting to come up here, but it is showing you this market is still kind of struggling to find like good value here at the moment right now on a lot of ordinal assets here. Yeah, I think this is what. Well, I mean, they can't eventually look like that. I think they have different layers because they didn't use recursion, so I don't think they could change what the asset you have here at the moment right now. Right? So like that's why I don't think these are dynamic unless they're going to set up a new collection and you burn into it. So this is in the collection Bounty Hunter. We actually saw it in the current collection, but I think this might be like yeah, it could be a burn, which would be really pricey, but could absolutely be that. But yeah, again, it just feels like Mutant Hound's not a great entry here thus far. Outside of that, I think you're going to see a lot more people try to figure out, again, is it worth getting Prometheans here? I think people are a little bit just bored, right? They're just bored. They wanted something more degen, and we didn't really get it. The only people who probably really felt degen wins is if you got Wanko Manko. Because I still laugh at that name. It's fucking great. It makes no sense, and it's still pumping. So again, if you got Wanko Mankos and you minted it for whatever that $100 fee was or $30 fee, you could have done it. Octopure, you won. Yeah, that one mint is worth right now almost $5,000, right? Yeah, and it was 950 sats just a few hours ago. Everything's dumping right now at the moment, which is interesting. I'm not sure exactly why. It's just probably standard that people are trying to do this, but insane. Like, yeah, it is crazy that the furry stuff is what's actually winning here at the moment right now. It's probably not what I would have expected here, but I'm actually really impressed. What I really want to see here is see what's going to catch like this on a large market cap. Because Wanko, awesome as it is, it's a very small market cap because it's actually a very small supply, right? Which is very interesting. Shout out to them. It's still a 50 million market cap last I checked, probably dropped now, 30, 40 million market cap. But it really was a winner for this. And there's something to take away from that. And that's kind of why I would really recommend people to kind of spend a little bit of time understanding how do you build the right kind of, edge. Again, I think Wanko Manko really won because Casey essentially blessed it. When Casey Rodemar blesses it, and it's a meme from one of his weird blogs, and Lord knows what weird dark sides Casey has here. That's really what led it to pump. And that was a very crazy outlier. So congrats if you were there and you won that. Satoshi Nakamoto's been okay. Elsa's already pulled back. What you're going to realize is that we haven't really seen massive pre-rune winners outside of Wanko Manko. Like, everything else has kind of been average. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some profits here and there, but it's not like, Gen Wealth, right? It really isn't. We haven't even got close to that yet outside of Wanko Manko. So I think you're going to see more of those opportunities come up, and we still need the infrastructure to catch up. And that's probably the biggest insight we're seeing in this market is that the infrastructure massively needs to catch up. If it does, it's going to get a huge upside, right, on where I think the long-term future of this market's also going to go. So as we kind of step back, right, we do know a lot of these centralized exchanges are coming. We do know even certain protocols like LFG Mystic and a handful of others are planning to build their own dexes for runes, right? We have a handful of other venture-backed companies that are looking to support. This market is going to get better, easier for all of us to navigate. But what does this end up leading into? And probably one of the biggest things I'd be recommending for all of us, and will be a large focus of what we're doing moving forward, it's recognizing that this is the perfect time, if I've ever gotten more conviction than ever before, is that you should be fucking farming. This is the easiest farm opportunity the world of crypto will ever provide for you. The fact that we have all of this lack of infrastructure means that all the new infrastructure that comes in is going to be so much more valuable, right? I want the swap protocol. Whoever gets onto the Rune swap protocol, you're going to get a massive airdrop from whatever that ends up being the primary winner on, right? Same thing. It's why we're betting on Moto. Moto is the swap protocol for CBRC20. If CBRC20 becomes huge, you win on Moto. Moto wins you a whole category on that front and gets you early exposure to that. But there's also going to be so many more L2 infrastructures here as well, and that's going to be really exciting. And most of these guys need you to use their tools, give them feedback, and they don't mind if you use multi-wallets, right? I would not be hard recommending farming if I couldn't multi-account. And the crazy thing is these people do not care if you multi-farm. They really don't. As long as it's you doing the work and you're not utilizing bots and auto filters and trying to break their systems, they honestly don't care. They want to register you as a real user. They want to register you as a value. So one of the biggest things that you need to be doing in the next 30 days is the profits that you get from runes and pre-runes. If you're able to capture them, set aside a decent amount of that to be able to fund your farming plays. Because there are going to be tons of multipliers as well on top of the farming that you could use with capital. That's how almost all farm structures work, and we'll talk about it. Almost all of them will be free to start. There will then be usually some type of staking, vesting, investment, asset ownership that will become a multiplier. And that's really where you win as a farmer. It's actually the ability to not only farm, but add a little bit of money. If you can do that, this is going to be a huge, huge opportunity. Don't use auto clickers. You'll be caught. Those are the easiest things to catch. Don't use any of that stuff. Stupid as fuck. You have to manually do this. You are at the soil of this land farming this shit, and you want to be able to manage each of these clicks and represent each of these clicks, right? And the real reason why you want to also do this is you're a power user of these ecosystems. Because that's the other real alpha. Yes, there's airdrop value. But the other bigger value is that you will know L2 Bitcoin infrastructure better than most. And what these last 3 days have told me is that Bitcoin needs so much more infrastructure than I even realized. Like, I knew it needed a lot. But holy fuck, this is the worst user experience I've ever played around in a multi-million billion dollar asset class, right? We are trading hundreds of millions of dollars on this fucking UI. I promise you, I could create you a better UI in a weekend, right? Literally, I could create a better one here over the weekend. And that's what I don't understand. And that's the crazy part is then Magic Eden's like, oh, hold your shit. Let me just make you an even sadder version. I don't even know how they did it. They actually made a sadder version of this UI. Like, I actually like Unisat. At least I know I could buy and sell. There's like packages here. It makes sense. What the fuck did Magic Eden just give me? Right? Like, I really doesn't make sense at all, right? Like, I don't really recognize that they thought this is even worth announcing. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll take their impressions, I'll take their buy power that they're bringing into the market, right? But let me be very honest, this is some crap fucking UI, right? Like, shout out to Jenny Data. I'd rather buy from fucking here, right? This is already a cleaner UI than what Magic Eden put together, right? And this is only buying, like, for minting here. It's not a marketplace per se, but this is a significantly better UI. And it's not good. That's the hilarious part. This is not even good. This is just better than what we're already getting from this marketplace. And again, that's a framework that most people would lean in as to bearish. But I'm trying to teach you guys lean into being bullish. That is bullish as fuck. It means so much infrastructure is coming. VCs, when they interact with this, they're thinking like, huh, you're right. We do need a swap protocol. Huh, you're right. We do need a bridge protocol. Huh, you're right. We do need a DEX protocol. Oh, you're right. We need all these fucking protocols. Why are we stopping? And this is why you're also going to be able to win, because you're just going to follow venture capital, right? If you start seasoning these wallets, setting them all up, and putting in that 5 to 10 hours a week, you're going to be getting clear six-figure airdrops in the next 12 months if this market matures at any basic rate. At any basic rate, right? And that's kind of a huge opportunity to kind of move forward here at the moment. So these events aren't really recorded to be shared. They're meant to be kind of intentionally live. Our farming sessions and our educational knowledge sessions will be more recorded and be put into a library. We are building our community a little bit different. It does require live connection and live value. I totally understand why a lot of you would want recordings of all of this, but there's also something that is value that's ephemeral. It's here, it's the moment that you're participating. So we're intentionally leaving a few of these not directly recorded. There are a few third parties and amazing community members who may record it and they may share it out. We'll always pin it if that's the case. But we're intentionally trying to keep the more of the conversation here live and live in chat. And that's actually why I really love this community. The chat is incredibly active. There's a lot of good thought processes. This is what we want to structure for you guys. And then also, we're going to start moving a lot of these live chats to being able to be available asynchronously as well. And that's where you're going to see the scrolls come in the library, where you'll be able to get a bunch of insights on how to farm Project A, Project B, Project C. We're also talking to a couple of partners that are going to be able to help you here as well. And this is kind of like the other bullish thing here as well, is that you're going to have a lot of other resources coming in that are going to help educate you to farm. Our goal is that we're just a hub, right? We're not looking for any capital from you. We're not looking for anything from you outside of support and help other stack sets, right? Help this community win together, and we'll continue to support you guys. We'll provide this hub. We'll provide some knowledge and insights. We'll provide some great art, some great storytelling. But essentially, right, the biggest thing that we want you guys to realize, this is a hub to attach to all the other communities you already are in. We're not here to take your time from those communities. We hope that this is an amplifier of your value to those communities. And in doing so, as a hub, what hopefully you can see is that we don't need you to live here 24/7. Some of you might feel it's a home, and that's awesome. We'll offer that opportunity. But as a hub, we are totally fine for people stopping in and out as they need. And that's what you should be able to get is surgical knowledge, insights, feedback, especially when it comes to these live sessions. These are a little bit softer as we're just generally talking, and we'll wrap up here in the next few minutes. But if you have questions, feel free to list it out. Our goal is just to be accessible on knowledge. We know how dry some of this shit can be, right? So if there's stuff that you don't really understand, let us know and we'll answer it. More importantly, if other people don't understand it and you can answer it, help them. And guess what? That's how you'll also be able to get Ronins. We're giving out Ronins to a bunch of people in this community for the next wave, and it's purely based off one simple philosophy, right? Are you contributing to the community and helping sats, whether it be yourself or others, right? And I promise you, all of you are going to be able to get this very quickly because we have no incentives with influencers. We have no incentives for any of this kind of stuff, right? Our incentive is just, did you guys win collectively together and support one another? And that's kind of the real trust structure we're trying to create. Because if we can do that, we could actually then become an invisible layer, and this community can be self-supportive with us just injecting healthy, fun incentives, i.e. Ronin mints, right? Or whatever else may come across the board, we'll kind of add that. But we actually want structural knowledge. And that's what I actually really value out of this community here, and I want to give you a ton of credit. The quality of this community actually is way beyond than what I expected after just a few weeks of doing this. The alpha, insights, knowledge, support, positivity, that's kind of what I want in crypto. I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, right? And non-meme, non-degen shit. Don't get me wrong, you could add that stuff in, but what we want is the actual knowledge infrastructure because I want you guys to be the most informed Bitcoin community that exists. That's really what we're trying to do. You will be the most informed Bitcoin community, and you'll be one of the most true users of Bitcoin as well here. You will absolutely get to understand protocols earlier than most. You will absolutely understand the value accrual that will happen in the BTC infrastructure upside here as well. But most importantly, the best part is that you're going to have a line of sight on what should potentially be the largest infrastructure here out there as well, which I think is going to be the largest like infrastructure class for a crypto entity is going to be hard Bitcoin. We know this. And yes, definitely keep an eye out for Rune Blaster. That'll be coming out in the market. It is much cheaper. I actually know a couple other services who are trying to clone that at the moment right now and try to build stuff out. There are a lot of ways to improve. There's going to be a lot more efficiencies here. Here's the good thing. You don't have to do anything drastic. You don't have to even be glued to your screens. It's actually weird. After the halving, I kind of took a little break on Saturday. I thought I was going to be online all the honestly, not much was happening. We weren't really missing out on anything. And that's kind of a good thing. We're not in this dire FOMO yet. So it means that the Bitcoin gods have given us more time to accrue and accumulate, right? You have a lot of opportunities here for consistently contributing and potentially now being early to everything that's still going to come, right? Which is going to be Wastrel. Yeah, Apo, there's actually already a service where you could split mint into smaller units. It's not easy per se, right? It's that Unisat layer. I forget who tweeted that. I have to go find that tweet that tweeted it, but I'll try to share it here if anyone else finds it. But yeah, it's within Unisat. You have to like create a new account and new wallet. So you have to create a new wallet, and there's some way to send the actions between them. So I just need to spend some time exactly how it is. But yeah, you send it to yourself. Shiroi's exactly right. Torch, you can actually break up the size of your tokens here on Luminex, not UTXOs, right? Yeah, okay, it's the same as Luminex. Yeah, transfer to yourself on the transfer tab. So that's really it, which is hilarious, right? That's how inefficient our way of selling assets are. Like in order, like I own 100 of these. I could either only sell 100 bananas, or I have to send one banana to myself into another basket I have across the street. And then I could sell that one banana on its own. Fucking dumbest thing I've ever heard, right? Like that's literally the dumbest thing. Shout out Lucienne for showing this. Yeah, Mr. Tax is here. But that's how dumb this UI is, right? Like I got, like, it's so weird too. Because then I also got from RuneCoin, Arsic. I got a few drops from them for like 1,000 RuneCoin tokens, right? They're worth $3. What the fuck am I gonna do with $3 worth of these tokens here right now? Am I gonna post it and make someone pay $30 for gas for this, right? Or $20 for gas for this at the moment? Totally doesn't make sense. All of this shit is hilariously bad. And I love it. I fucking love it because I know that inefficiency means that infrastructure and more plays are going to open up and more people are going to fade this. They're going to fade the largest crypto market cap. They're going to fade the largest form of where ordinal assets are going right now. They're going to fade the next token asset class that will create billion-dollar tokens. I'm still utterly convinced of that as well. So because of this, right, as everyone else thinks it's too much work, all of you believe, right? All of you believe that this is just the right amount of work for you. Keep pushing through here. This is the week as well. And again, you've been a couple extra days, I'm telling you, right? If you don't have sub 10 rune exposures, right, like get some, right? Whatever it may be, right? Fuck, if you want to go buy on OTC here, right, on Whales market to get some runes, you can if you want. I don't recommend Runestone, but it's selling somewhat cheap, right? As long as runestones don't fucking have like a massive moment, right? You shouldn't get rugged. And even if you get rugged, you get a 2x on the token, which is still a good rug in that opinion, right? But you still have time to move exactly more ETH to BTC or choose your allocation strategies here. Thankfully, I mean, I know the window is pretty high right now on the current sat fees, right? It was like around 200, 250. Wow, 260. Wow, is it still just is it just that mint, the meme pool mint? Let me just see this real quick in the last vlog. Yeah, it's just meme pool space. Wow, and ZZZ is getting a lot more mint. It's now 35% minted out or 36% minted out of that last 1%. Hilarious. It's still got a shit ton more mints to do, but it is meme pool space and ZZZ getting a lot. We saw a little bit of the god of Bitcoin, I guess. Not really much here. X, formerly known as Twitter. There's some weird ass mints here in this block. First is first. Oh, Titanium Cheetos making a comeback. Here's Mystic Rune Dex. This is LFG's token. Some people have been minting this here as well. It's almost near. It was massively pre-mined as well. So some people have just been trying to get a little bit of this here. Again, I don't know how valuable it is, but if you believe in LFG, this could be an interesting thing to maybe mine a few times if you want some exposure. Outside of that, though, as you can see, it's just whatever is the next hottest thing. That's really what's happening. Meme pool space, I don't know if this is going to be super bullish, but I'll give him credit. He's going to get a decent amount of holders and a decent amount of mints here, right? I mean, he's already got 55,000, 71,000 mints. Wow, 16,000 mints got confirmed in the last 3 blocks. Pretty crazy. So this will probably end up being minted out 5 or 6 blocks, it looks like at this point. Assuming like 2,500 transactions per block. Yeah, something around that, maybe a little bit. So again, if you want to maybe get in, you have a chance if you really feel like that. I'll be honest, I'm 99% of this shit right. Really, 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 I'm fading most of these new stuff that's happening. What am I doing? I just keep buying more Arsic. That's right now what I'm doing at the moment right now. I'm really bullish on Arsic and Runestone. Those are really just where my plays are at this point. I think with Arsic on, and I'm not even buying the Arsic Ordinal. I actually care so much less about Season 2. I care about Season 1, sub 10 rune, real team. They spent at least $700,000 here as well and kind of scaling it. I'm with you, Octopura. I'm fading everything but top 10 because I didn't get any. So I'm just sad and seething in the corner because I missed out on Wanko. But don't blame you at all of playing the Wanko game. That is huge win. Hope that kind of continues to scale up in a positive direction. So, as you guys realize from this weekend, right? Infrastructure is there. We're almost there. The tipping point's there. The tipping point didn't happen exactly on halving, as most people wanted it, especially a lot of outsiders, right? And that's why I was trying to tell you, I don't think a node was mattering. And really, a node didn't matter. What mattered was more custom tooling, right? Like what Rune Blaster did and understanding that. You could have maybe saved a little bit of money on fees with a node if you're going after early inscriptions, right, for tickers. but that's about it. You all have an opportunity. You all have chances in this market. You all have a window ahead of 99.9% of people. People are still sleeping on this shit. They're still sleeping on the number one blockchain. They're still sleeping on $1 trillion market cap. This is going to be interesting. Correct, BK. This is Billy Resty. He's the one who did talk about meme pool space, and saying that you're running this out. Pretty interesting. He's no pre-mine though, right? So he's just getting it himself. I don't actually think meme pool is going to be huge by any means. I love Billy. I actually love Billy a lot, but Billy's stuff doesn't really have breakthrough upside here, right? So I'm not sure if this will be any different, right? But like Billy overall is at least always been a good actor, so I've always tried to support, right, in those ways, right? But exactly, I think Octopura's got it right. Billy's cool, but his collection base is tepid. I that's exactly the right way of saying it. So expecting him to have a meme coin probably run, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be very honest, right? I don't think it's a bad fade. If you want to feel something, here's the best part: you could feel something every day in crypto, on runes. There's something that mints out every day on runes right now in this kind of slow ass time, right? But I like Billy a lot. I respect Billy a lot, but I would be minting to support Billy. I wouldn't be minting expecting that this is gonna run. But who knows? Anything can run, right? So this is the same thing with any meme coins. If you're this early, if you want to get allocation and upside to non sub 10 runes, right? Make sure you get allocation to 3 or 4 of these, right? Create a mini portfolio. Don't just bet it all on on this case, right? Meme pool if you think that's the case. Get one meme pool, maybe get one Fihu, get one something else, right? I think these are all great, and you could play a portfolio game. I'm personally not dealing with it. I don't care, to be honest. I don't care. It's not the game that I'm going to be good at personally for me. Fuck, like, honestly, if you even showed me Wanko Manko, I think I was awake when it was. I wouldn't have minted it. Right? I would have only maybe minted it because Casey blessed it. It would be the only time I would have minted it as a signal. I didn't care about anything else, right? So that's kind of the other important thing is that my value to you guys is not going to be on the shit. My value to you guys is understanding the infrastructure of what's being played. But I really, really, really believe sub 9 runes is the play, right? Sub 10 runes is the play, right? Getting 1 through 9 is the easiest, smartest way that where you're going to see listing advantages, centralized exchanges coming, bringing direct buy pressure into them. That's clear. I think outside of that, you could bet on pups, you could bet on Wanko Manko, and you could probably bet on Magic Internet Money would be it. And then the only other ones outside of the sub 10 are the ones I have that you might have got pre-runes for. So, like I have Tiny Viking, I have Sigma, I have Ein Runestar, I have GameStone. I don't even know what the fuck I'm supposed to do with 90%. But I'm still keeping them. I'm writing them, and I assume those are going to be mid-market caps with maybe the potential of one of them blowing up. If one of them blow up, this gets interesting. But I'm not really selling out of any of my positions. The only thing I sold out is I did not believe runestones had good residual. I'm actually, as you can see, they are starting to dip. So I sold out most of my runestones between 0.33 and 0.37 after the snapshot. Let me just go back to that real quick. And as you can see, where are we at? Yeah, I guess runestones are back. They're like 0.029. Yeah, they're a little bit under 0.028. So, they did pump a little bit, but I actually don't think they have a strong residual value as people are noting right now. So I'm not going into that. I only want the primary token. Same thing. I'm glad people are bullish on R6 Season 2. I kind of don't care. I want R6 Season 1. I want the number 8 rune. That's what I'm betting on. So I actually don't have R6 Ordinal asset exposure, and I have almost no runestone asset exposure, Ordinal asset exposure anymore. I sold out of almost all of them. I kept 2 in a couple of wallets because I had full set with rune doors. That's it. That's the only thing I kept. And then I rotated all of my liquidity from runestone sales, or at least 90% of my liquidity from runestone sales, into RSIC buys on Unisat. Right? I'm right now. I like RSIC at this valuation. To be very honest, I like Runestone at even 400 million valuation. If I didn't hate Whales Market, I'd be buying actually a lot potentially here. I'm even considering it here. It's just I don't like Whales Market UI UX. Even when I bought a ton on Whales Market, right, with the actual rune stones themselves, like they delayed the claim window, so it allowed people to like choose to rugby even more if they wanted. It was a little annoying to me. So I'm just waiting for the drop and going, but I like this price. I legitimately do believe Runestone opens at 700 million market cap minimum. That's my low end of the range, right? Realistically, based off everything we're saying, I really think it should be well above a billion, in my opinion, right? Based off the numbers in the markets here, I think it's a clear rune. It is the clearest number one rune winner right now. All the market buying and pressure. I don't love the token name. I don't love all that kind of stuff here, but I absolutely believe that, yeah, Dog Goes to the Moon is the $1 billion token. I think Arsic will follow, and I think there's a few others that will play into that. Maybe it's Prometheans, maybe it's something else. So this is kind of where it is. I don't know why. My question to you, Bounty Hunter, is why do you think Runestones will get bought up again if Dog is a success when the next Runestone drop for a token is probably not 6 or 9 months away? It's kind of interesting. I don't know why you would want, like, my worry is I don't know tie up liquidity for that long of a wait, and I don't think people are going to airdrop to Runestone holders. So there's only one other top 10 drop, right, which is happening tomorrow, right? Or it's Runedoor. That's the only one that's guaranteed for sub 10s at the moment right now. People thought Feihu was tied to it, but that's not the case. So right now it's just Runedoor, and Runedoor getting 1/3, realistically 1/5 or 1/6 of the total value is. Nah, Feihu is not connected to it. Feihu said nothing about runestones. It's Feihu layer 2 that talked about runestones, which is not connected to Feihu. So there's only one sub 10 that's connected, and you're getting 1/6 of the value to hold it on its own compared to holding it with that Runedoor as well. So I think the residual value on Runestone is much smaller. And to be very honest, if I'm a builder, I'm not airdropping to Runestone holders anymore. I'm airdropping to Dog holders, 100%. Right? The airdrops won't go to Runestone, or they're going to go to Dog holders, because those are the people who actually have skin in the game and playing it as well. So I think Runestone's residual value is lower than it is. Right? I told everyone if I could get out of, and if it got down to 0.025, I'd keep, right? So I ended up just sticking with that plan and got out almost everything, averaged out around 0.0365 is what I ended up coming in. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a bad play to own Runestone. I'm just not convinced the residual value is there, and I'm sure as hell not tying up liquidity to secondary tokens right now. I want Genesis token or bust. So I want R6 season 1. I want Dog token number 1. I don't care about a second token, third token. The market timings of those will be so out of whack. I don't think Runedoor is bad. I have very little Rune exposure though. I want to be honest. I only have 2 full sets. So I have 2 Runedoors, 2 Runestones in one wallet. So I have that. But I'm not as bullish because I don't believe they're going to rally people. Like, I don't think Buoyant Capital has the leverage to rally people. I think it's cool that Buoyant Capital spent the money, spent the 8 BTC, but I'm just not convinced that they have much more leverage behind that unless their technology infrastructure comes through. Yeah, Bounty Hunter, see if you could find out. From my understanding, it's the wrong Feihu. We got the wrong ones convinced. So sorry, the wrong ones compared. So I think we're not getting Feihu at all. So again, we might want to double check on all same thing. If you find out, just tag me and I'll do the same when we confirm, because that would be a very large reason why you'd want Runestone. But from my understanding, they're not. So if it's only Runedoors, right, that's how I've been estimating it. So I got out at 0.035 on that logic. But maybe I'm the wrong one here, which, of course we want to go get this data on. But I hope this kind of helps you guys, understand your positions. And that's kind of why I want to be a little open with some of my positions. None of this is financial advice. I want to be very clear. I just want to let you, certain people are framing this game, and you could kind of build into this game here as well. Ooh, Shiroi just shared a link. He says, does anyone know this? We'll end on this. Let's look at what random Shiroi inscription is he giving to us here today. I saw this airdropped earlier. I don't know what it is. I saw this in a couple other wallets too, which was interesting. Yeah, here's the parent inscription, and it looks like they did just a quick. But it's weird. Why does their parent inscription end up looking smaller? Interesting. So they should have a bunch of children. So how many children does it have? So far they've done 2,000 children, and the sizing's a little bit weird. So it looks like it's cooking some character. So this is probably where you're going to get some airdrop of some asset coming in, which is, I guess, interesting. Looks like the first one's got airdrop as of, was it 3 days ago, or did they start 4 days? I'm trying to get all the way to the bottom. Get me. Come on. So it looks like 3 days ago was where it started. And then, are they done? Oh, it looks like they might be done. So it's 18. Oh, well, it's not 1337. I thought it might be leet. So it might be loot? Oh, no, it'd be 1007. I don't know what this would be then. So it's 1887 inscription. Haven't seen this. I did get this in one of my wallets as well. But I'm just not sure what this is. So yeah, no tweet. There's actually a few of these. I saw a few like random kind of gems in people's wallets that don't have any collection tied to them yet either. So I think what you're seeing is a lot of people are starting to airdrop ordinal runes, and will probably make a collection out of it when the market is more clear, right? And I think that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I think I don't want to say it's junk mail, to be very honest, because it's too expensive to send junk mail, right? We are, though, in a targeted airdrop era, right? And then when an L2 figures out how to do this all super cheap, we will then move to a junk mail era. 100%. Right? I mean, a lot of you, if you remember that you Polygon, remember this dumbass shit you'd see on Polygon come to you? Awful, right? So we're going to probably see that when more L2s come. But yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of people try interesting airdrops like this or interesting claim. I know a couple other entities who are thinking about this kind of stuff here as well, too. But I'll be very honest, the market's just boring right now. And I like that. I want it to stay boring. I want it to kind of like lead to an opportunity later where as other people get bored, we can take actions. And that's where we're all going to win. We all have advantages here because we're staying active. We're staying active when everyone else is probably finding a reason to not stay active. And you're going to absolutely get into it. Yeah, Octopus is exactly right. Boring, but ripening. I think it's a great way of putting it, right? And that means that as you guys come into this world, this is where you can have lots of opportunities to kind of keep supporting, keep being a part of this journey, keep helping, but also why farming still remains one of the truest opportunities as well when you have smaller or medium-sized bags. But also, even if you're a whale, I'd be farming. I'm farming. I think it's going to be one of the most profitable things for me to do. It's going to become a nest egg for me to be able to redeploy, and it gives me exposure in a way that I wouldn't get traditionally through ordinal-based assets. I love it. I hope you'll find it, and we'll dive into that starting tomorrow as well. With that all, we're going to let you all go. Lots of cool things coming in. Lots of cool updates. Appreciate you sharing it, Silent Mode, of what's happening on Unisat. A lot of more tools are going to get better. This thing's all going to get better. We're all going to see more and more upside here. We're all going to massively win because we're all going to just collect sats and increase our exposure. So with that all, we're going to let you go. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll get into our farming habits, and hopefully we'll be able to get onto the top 10 list here and get some major protocols to airdrop us token. With that, we'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll chat soon. Bye-bye now.